Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Human Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and it's another one of mine, a blitz game this time. I've been trying out a few different openings, some openings of Mariotti, some of Leela at odds. And when I do that, I like to just take my time in the opening and just have a think through and try and think of some crazy stuff. So and then try and survive the rush at the end. So this is what I've been doing and played a few nice games actually. So this is an idea of Leela's at night odds. Let's see how it goes. So it's f4, b-birds, d5 and c3. And Leela is playing this with the knight on b1 missing. This move order has got various ideas. I mean, one of them in particular is that the queen can come out to b3 or a4. So it's quite effective against ideas where black tries to play the bishop to f5 or bishop g4, which happens a fair amount, really, because I think people have got influenced by the London system. So that's quite interesting. In general, it leads to Dutch positions a tempo up. It's been remarked on before that this doesn't ever really seem to make much difference, but the occasional white player does try and keep on trying. So that's me now. So black played the move g6. Very sensible. Most people fianchetto like this against the Dutch. And then quite an aggressive line, knight d7. So you're trying to play the move e5. Now, one of the key points that Leela has made possible is with this move c3, you delay committing the d pawn. So you do actually have the move d4, which you set up a stone wall, stop e5 and get on with your life. And it's certainly quite decent. But I'm trying to play a bit more aggressively somehow. I played the move bishop g2. Black plays e5 and then I just took, knight takes and castles. And I mean, what's the idea of this move? Well, the point is that if black plays knight f6, of course, this bishop on e5 is not well placed. So, the dark squares are weak. And I don't know. I mean, I could have a queen a4 to h4 maybe, or just go d4 and then a bishop g5, or bishop h6. These are all quite interesting ideas. And if black plays bishop g7, well, I might just find something that I can do quickly. Maybe a queen a4 check, or maybe something like queen b3, knight e7, and then e4. And I'm hitting the f7 pawn, so d takes c4 isn't possible. I'll work out something. But after castles, black played the sensible knight e7, just leaving that retreat square for the bishop back to g7. So I decided to go all in. I played d4, bishop g7, and then went e4. Probably if I played it again, I might play bishop f4 and knight d2, which is quite sensible. You're preparing e4 now, get the knight onto e4 afterwards. I prefer that to after d takes e4. I mean, the best move for the engines is to play bishop takes e4. But that wasn't quite the idea. The idea was to play knight d2 and recapture on e4 with a knight. I hadn't really quite decided what I was going to do about f5. This was my thinking when black didn't go f5 at the time. That was when my sort of pondering cut off. Just sacrificing a piece, king in the center, who knows? Maybe queen e2 is possible as well. But black didn't do that. Black played the move e3. And after knight e4 went knight f5. And I think, black's thinking was, well, if white recaptures that pawn on e3, I'll get the bishop pair. And I'm just, with that pawn on e3, we're putting a barrier on the way to the g5 square. But here I started playing some decent stuff. I played the move g4. Black played knight h4, the most natural move, hitting that bishop after all. And now I played the move bishop e3 with quite a nice idea, actually. So black played the move knight takes g2, and of course, the idea is if king takes, well, that there's, some weakened light squares somehow, yeah? I mean, stuff for white to be worried about. But I played the move bishop g5, hitting the queen, stopping black from playing f6. Of course, I've got quite a lot of stuff on there. And black played the move queen d5. Not the best move. Queen d7 was the best move, but queen d5 is very natural. I mean, what could be more natural than putting the queen on the line of the knight? But now I played queen f3, and this one's quite nasty. I mean, first of all, I'm protecting the knight on e4. I'm also threatening knight f6 check. I'm covering an attack on the queen. And the big problem is that after castles, I go knight f6 as well. So there's no clear way, there's no clear escape route really for the black king. But I was very much sort of influenced somehow by a game I've analysed in quite great depth on this channel earlier. It's from the Olympiad. It's Stremovicius against Keimer. I'll just bring up the position, and yeah, this was the game where after knight takes g2, here White spotted that knight on g2 was not getting out, and so he just kept on going with other attacking moves whilst that knight remained hanging on g2, and it's only after a few more moves that he finally took it off. And yeah, I was very much influenced by that, and I just had the thought of well, I don't see how that knight on g2 is getting off, so I can just carry on with my attack, and then I'll always have that knight on g2 in reserve. I can always capture it later somehow. As you'll see, I never ended up capturing that knight, but it was always one of the things in the position that black couldn't give back other material, because then I'd always have that knight on g2 that I'd capture and then get a material advantage. So the engine suggests knight e3, sort of a desperado. The idea being, that the knight's actually protecting the queen, so knight f6 is not doing anything now. The engine suggests rook e1 in return, but black can sort of castle at least because his queen's protected, and after rook e3, remove the queen. But this is really dangerous. White plays the move something like h3, for example, and yeah, this is a very pleasant position for White indeed. Engine's winning loads of these as White. But black, I mean, that's quite difficult to see somehow. Black played the move bishop e6, which I was expecting. And now I played the move knight f6, takes and takes. So not taking that knight on g2, but I'm attacking the rook on h8. I'm threatening mate on e7. And I'm also stopping the king from castling queenside, because a king can't cross an attack square whilst castling. There's only one move, which is king d7, which sort of prepares to run away from the queen, and also protects the rook on h8. So people often ask me, oh, you seem to be seeing quite a lot at these bullet and blitz levels. How does that work? Well, unfortunately, it's not that I'm a genius or anything. It's just I think I've got quite a good way of thinking about these positions. Although, of course, I'm not showing you the ones that go horribly wrong. So there's quite a few of those too. But I mean, I actually play bullets pretty much as I imagine that Tal played classical chess, which is, first of all, you're quite aware of levers in the position. If you've got stuff that can knock the opponent's pieces, then you're counting that as as obviously part of a good position. And one thing I'd noticed was that I had this move c4 to knock the queen away from the center, and obviously something can be captured, but then you're assuming open lines. And otherwise, if you don't capture, then you're sort of seeing follow-up levers. So this is the idea. If queen c4, we're opening up the c file, which looks handy. It's next to the king, or there's a square on the c file next to the king. And if you don't take, then I'll have the move d5, which attacks this bishop, which is a bit of a rock. So you're sort of seeing that sort of stuff. And then in terms of calculation, there's no time, to calculate anything precise. And but you sort of got plausible lines, in your head. And if those plausible lines look dangerous, then you're saying, okay, that's good enough for me, And I'm pretty sure that that's how Tal, did his classical chess thinking, or he had, of course, a series of plausible lines of quite high quality, but he wasn't calculating it precisely. It's just if there are enough plausible lines, then he was going for his sacrifices, and that's basically how I try to do it in bullet and blitz, obviously at a much lower level. So after c4, actually I just had a couple of ideas. I mean, I thought queen d6 was the best move, and then I was going to play d5, which I thought was actually just incredibly good. I hadn't really spotted that after bishop g4, queen f7, there's apparently not an amazing follow-up for White, although it's obviously pretty good. I can always take this knight on g2. The engines point out an absolutely gorgeous move, which is why I want to show this to you. It's the move queen d4. And it's a retreating move that's attacking the bishop on g4 and actually also threatening the move rook takes f7 check. And the funny thing is, you might think, well, I can protect both of those threats. I can protect my bishop and stop you taking on f7. Haha. But actually, White's got this gorgeous move back with queen g7 check. And f5 has cleared the second rank. It turns out that Black can't cover that second rank. The only thing that Black can do is go to the back rank, and then White will end up taking both the Black rooks. So that's not good. There's also, for the purists amongst you, there's also something like a force mate, like this I've just spotted. So that's pretty good. But lovely move, queen d4. Really, really nice. Quite unexpected. So actually, it turns out that after queen c4, rook c1, Black's got the move queen b4, which I hadn't seen. I sort of assumed queen d5, rook queen e7 check, and there's going to be mate on c7. But White carries on with a move like d5, just opening stuff up, and that turns out to be pretty good enough. I'm pretty sure I would have found something like that. Black played the move queen e4 and hadn't really bothered about it. I just thought d5 was really strong. And now Black played queen g4, which not the best move. Bishop g4 was a little bit better according to the engines, but it's obviously the human move, you know, setting up some sort of discovered check here. I wasn't too worried about it. I took on e6 check, takes on e6, rook d1, king c6, and now I have to think of something. I mean, as always, you know, I've got moves like queen f3, but I never rate my chances of finishing off a game with an extra piece, but not very much time. Yeah, at all. I've had so many disasters, just rather embarrassing. But I've learned that I've really got to try and find ways to make mate somehow. And I found a very nice idea, which was the move h3. Just attacking the queen, and the idea is that if queen g3, I've got queen e6 because the black queen's no longer covering the e6 square. So you've got to play a move like queen takes h3, but now of course you're not actually threatening a discovered attack anymore, so I've got a little bit of time. And yeah, I just found a nice little quiet move. You might want to have a little look, see whether you can find it. It was a good one. It was queen e5 and just taking control nicely and threatening queen b5 checkmate. And after a6, I apparently didn't play the quickest move, but it was a very nice move, I thought, which was b4, threatening queen c5, checkmate. If you go b5, well, rook f7 is quite a nice start. We're going to line up on the c7 pawn there. But Black very sportingly played the move queen g4 and allowed me to give mate after queen c5 check. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that one. I quite enjoyed that one, I have to say. I love those you know, quite free-flowing attacking games where, especially using those openings, either Mariotti openings or Leela openings, always gives me a lot of pleasure. And yeah, I mean, always hopefully, you know, build up a stock of ideas and then you can use it in bullet, where it's just important not to be thinking in the opening, but just you know, get your opening moves out and then hopefully keep on attacking somehow. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and otherwise hope to see you at the next one. Thanks for watching.